That is one of the most heartbreaking ways to lose a game that I've ever seen in any sport, really, not just the NFL. Um, it was just like a 1-2 punch of just like blown leads, drop passes, and then at the end the coup de grace of Justin Fields throwing a Hail Mary, bobbles around, falls right in Darnell Mooney's lap, and he just can't hold on to it. And I don't know how he doesn't hold on to it. But so the Bears lose to the Browns 20-17, I think was the final score. Yeah, at this point the season's pretty much done. Like I don't know how you come back from something like this. Like this is brutal. This is one of the most brutal losses I've ever seen, because we had the game in the palm of our hands. The first 3 quarters of the game, it was like immaculate. We were up 17-7. Probably should have been more, but we had a lot of good turnovers. Our defense was playing out of their mind, honestly, the whole time. Special teams was making great plays. Run defense was suffocating. Our pass defense was not letting anything get through. We had like 3 interceptions, I think. And so everything kind of changed in the third quarter when we were at like, I want to say the 35, 40-ish. Well, before that, so we go into the half, we're up 7, I think it was 7-7 at the half. And we have the ball at like the 40, I want to say, and instead of kicking a field goal, which you could try, there were 3 seconds left, it's not like you're giving them good field position, they go for the Hail Mary, which doesn't convert, but it never converts. Well, but like you could have, it was at like the very, very outskirts of Kairos' field goal range, and it's like you might as well give him a try. I like his odds there better than I like our Hail Mary odds, but they elect to forego the 3 points and do that instead, and it doesn't work. Then later, we're at like the 35. This is late in the game. We were up by 10. 4th and 1. We decide to go for it. Fields is running, and he just barely gets tripped up, just short of the line to gain, and Browns get the ball back. And it's just so close. And I saw somebody say DJ Moore was open in the end zone on that play. I didn't see that. I was too busy losing my mind. Yeah, I came in. Montez Sweat, great game, 3 sacks. Tyreek Stevenson looked great. Eddie Jackson had an interception. Pick 6 from Tremaine Edmunds, but if you take away Tremaine Edmunds' pick 6, our offense only put up 10 points. And I know it's the Cleveland Browns, and they're the best defense in the league, but they were injured to hell and back. And like there's no excuse at this point for why our offense isn't producing. And I find it hard to believe Luke Getsy is going to return after this year. I think he's an awful offensive coordinator. I think the play calls were terrible. Anytime it was 3rd and long, they just went with a screen. And it wasn't going to convert, but like it's like they're not even trying. So we're going into the 4th. We're up by 10. Can't do anything. Browns end up kicking a field goal, and then we can't do anything. And then we're up by 7. Browns get the ball back. And they're just plowing through. And it reminded me of the Detroit game where they just kept getting these chunk plays over and over and over and over again. And then you get the Amari Cooper insane touchdown along the sidelines that he just takes to the house from I don't even know how you give up a play like that. So then it's tied. And then we can't do anything. Justin... our offense goes 3 and out, and it was brutal. And then you get to the Browns again, and it was the same thing, but then we actually made a stop. I think we got a sack or a TFL, or they took a penalty, something like that. And it was 3rd and 15. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. We're probably going to get overtime here. Nope. David Njoku just toss like 15 yards down the field. He catches it, takes it another 15 more yards for a big 30-yard game, and then they're on the 20, and they're deep into field goal range. So they drain all our timeouts, drain the clock down to 40 seconds. They kick the field goal. Justin gets the ball after that, and I've been very critical of him in clutch situations, 2-minute drills, anything like that. And he actually I thought he looked pretty good this time. We moved down the field nice. Justin throws a great ball to Tyler Scott, who drops it. That could have saved us another 10, 15 seconds at least. But then the next play, Scott kind of makes up for it by taking a big dump off about 15 more yards to get us to about the 50 or the 40, something like that. But just the time was not on our side. And feels like anytime we were trying to do any short play throughout the game, whether it be an end around, whether it be a screen pass, whether it be anything of that variety, it felt like the Browns were 5 steps ahead of us. Like, they were not letting us get anything going from that. And it's because Getsy just keeps trying to get too cute. Runs up the middle. That's not working. Screen passes weren't working. And so then, Scott takes a nice play. And then eventually there's 3 seconds left, and we're too far out for Cairo. So we got to try the Hail Mary. Fields lobs it up. Great ball. Cole Kmet bobs it off his hands. It bobbed off a Browns defender's hands. Goes forward. Mooney just happened to fall backward, and like a gift from God himself, lands right on his lap, but in his hands. He brings it in. It's right here, and he's falling backward with it, and it just comes out. And it's like, I'm sorry, but like, that is the most brutal. I don't know how you let that happen. And he's going to be the scapegoat for this game. And I feel bad for him because he's not the reason we lost. I mean, obviously we would have won if he catches that, but like, we should have won this game easily. And I thought we were going to after the third quarter. I was like, we're looking pretty nice, but I just hate that every game it feels like we've got missed opportunities upon missed opportunities, and to have a game be that close to winning. And it was the difference between this feeling that we have right now, where we are 5-9. Our playoff hopes are done. Like, we're not making the playoffs. And if he just brings that in, then now we're 6-8, and we're looking pretty nice on our playoff journey. Because if we could win this game, our next 2 games are the Cardinals and the Falcons. Like, we're winning those games, and then we can go into Green Bay and we'll see what happens. But not having this, it just removes it all out of it. And it just feels all too familiar. It feels like heartbreaking losses like these only really happen to us. It feels like we never have cool stuff like Hail Mary conversions happen, I get reminded of the double doink game. I get reminded of that New England game where Kevin White catches the Hail Mary, but he's 1 yard short and we don't get it. I get reminded of that Packers game a couple of years ago where Jesper Horsted has the ball. He's on the 5-yard line. There's no time left. And we had been lateraling it, and he get it that far. Allen Robinson is right in front of him, and he just can't get it to him. And like, it just feels like I can name a ton of examples of that happening, of just where we feel this close, and it feels like we never ever get the cool stuff like that's happened to us. And now we're lost to the Browns. I have a hard time believing Fields is going to come back next year at this rate. I thought he actually looked pretty good most of the time. No interceptions. I mean, the stat line is going to say 1 or 2 interceptions, but those were both on the Hail Mary attempts. The first one shouldn't have been marked an interception. That one hit the ground, but they never overturned it. And then the other one, the Mooney one, was technically an interception, but like, it's not Fields' fault. It's not even close. And that feels like this season summed up in a game right there. That feels like how a lot of these games have gone this year. A depressing amount of these games. And that's another game to add to the blown lead what if pile, next to the Detroit game, next to the Denver game, and now we can add this one where you have these big leads going into late in the game and you just can't capitalize off of them. We were up by 10 going into the fourth. We were up by like 20 against Denver. We were up by 15 against Detroit. All of those we lost, and I'm really sick of this. I'm really sick of, because you can tell the talent is there on this team everywhere except wide receiver. It feels like is pretty good. At least maybe we could do better in the running game. Felt like Deontay Foreman couldn't do anything today. Every single one of his runs right up the middle, 1 yard at least. Like they weren't doing anything with him. At this point, like, it's gone from anger to I'm just sad, you know? Like, I'm just sad because I'm tired of watching the Bears lose. I'm tired of these seasons going out like this. It's been every year for the last 6 years that this has happened. And Bears have a lot of questions to answer this offseason on what they're going to do with this coaching staff. I don't know how Luke Getsy stays. If he does stay, I don't think this team is going anywhere. You could argue for Eberflus staying because of how insanely good this defense has been lately. But then you look at when it matters most, this defense can't do anything. The Detroit game, choked it. Soft play calls. Felt like the same thing here, where you have this defense that's been playing lockdown all game, and as soon as it's in the clutch, it feels like you call these terrible zone schemes that teams are just going to dice up easily. It only works against Bryce Young or Brian Hoyer or Sam Howell. It doesn't work against guys like this. And, yeah. At this point, like, I don't even know. I don't even know, man. Feels like everybody played somewhat well, but we just can't get it done. And at that point, you blame the coaches, but it never does feel like there's only one person to blame. Losses like these are tough to swallow, you know? Man, this is sad, dude. This is the saddest I've been after a loss in a while. This one was brutal. I can't even, like, I'm kind of lacking the words to say at this point, because it felt like we had it won. Like, we played enough to win, but it just feels like every time we play these teams, we just give them, and I swear, if this becomes a trend, and this is what happened last year, it felt like we had a lot of games just slip away from us at the end, but you could blame it on talent, on how untalented this team was, how new the coaching staff was. Like, what do you even do this year? And they're not going to fire Eberflus. I know they're not going to. You can argue they should. They better fire Getsy. But I know they won't fire Eberflus, because God knows why. There's just no fun in this, man. Like, I don't know. Feels like this is like kind of the last big hurrah here, you know. The rest of the season just kind of doesn't matter now, you know. Panthers won today, so now I got to worry about that. If they win another game, we're gonna lose the first overall pick, and at that point, you got to wonder, you know, what are we gonna do then? I mean, even if we do have the first overall pick, like, what are we going to do? I always presume they're taking Caleb Williams. But if you have second overall, then it's an even bigger question mark. God. And it's not even just the pain of this loss, but now it's the pain of our season's officially done. Like, that's it. You know? This felt like that was our last big... That was our last chance. That was our last shot. And we blew it in the saddest ways. God, man. So, next week on Christmas Eve, we're facing the Cardinals. Might win, probably, but at this point, does it really matter anymore? I guess we still have an outside chance at making the playoffs, but if the best we can do is 8-9, and we don't deserve to make the playoffs at 8-9. Let's be for real. So, man, I'm just tired of all of this. Oh, I didn't even mention the Tonyan drop early in the game. Yeah, that sucked too. Fields threw a dime way across the field, perfectly placed in the arms of Robert Tonyan, and he drops it. So that's 3 drops in this game that could have been the difference between winning and losing. The Tonyan drop, the Tyler Scott drop, the Mooney drop, any of those get caught, and our chances of winning are way higher, especially the Mooney one. We literally win if he catches that. But that just felt like a theme all day. Is just our players just kept letting us down in the most crucial situations. And that's just how this team feels. And I don't know what you do to combat that, because you know this roster is talented. And I've said it all year, especially on defense. This defense is looking really good. This is the best defense I've seen since 2018 for the Bears. But they still can't get it done. And we still keep choking these games away at the end in brutal, brutal fashion. And it's just heartbreaking because I just can't handle this anymore. I'm sick of coming over here and talking to y'all and not having good stuff to talk about, you know? I want to watch a winning Bears team again. I've only seen one in the last 10 years. So, yeah. God, man. You know, it's stuff like this that makes you want to do anything else with your Sundays. Man. I would take a walk, but it's too cold out. So I just have to vent out my frustrations to this camera. Dang, man.